What happens when your love is real, but your identity is questioned? Well, for bisexuals in different gender relationships, invisibility isn't just a feeling, but it can actually be a daily reality. Beneath the label of straight passing lies a world of complexity for bisexuals in different gender relationships, and that is what we're discussing on today's episode of Give It To Me Bi. Let's talk about it. Here at Give It To Me Bi, we'd like to acknowledge that we live and work and play on Gadigal land. We acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of this land and pay our respects to elders past and present. Sovereignty was never ceded. This is Give It To Me Bi, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything from a bi plus perspective. I'm Chad Barnier.
And I'm Steve Spencer. Together, we're diving into the real stories, the challenges, and the celebrations of the bi plus community. We are here to learn together and, of course, to laugh together.
From personal journeys to cultural moments, we are here to amplify a bi plus point of view and spark conversations that matter.
So, whether you're bi, pan, queer, or just curious, join us as we explore the world of bi plus experiences.
Now, let us give it to you bi. Today's topic, being bisexual in a so-called straight relationship, or what we prefer to call a different gender or different sex relationship. This is one that hits close to home for me as a bisexual man in a long-term monogamous relationship with a cisgender straight woman. And let me tell you, this conversation is long overdue. It's not just a personal issue. It's a cultural and community issue that keeps cropping up over and over as a point of contention and misunderstanding. Why? Because society, heck, even parts of the queer community, has a real problem with seeing bisexuality for what it is. Valid, complex, and whole, regardless of who you're partnered with. There's this lingering myth that when you're in a different gender relationship, your bisexuality is somehow invisible, less authentic, or even irrelevant. Worse, some people weaponize this idea, calling it straight passing privilege, as if erasure and invisibility are some kind of golden ticket. Spoiler alert, they are not.
Nope.
Being reduced to something you're not is not a privilege. It's exhausting and it's harmful. This isn't just about frustration, though. It's about the deep impacts this has on mental health, relationships, and the broader bi plus community. Studies consistently show that bisexual folks in different gender relationships face higher rates of depression and exclusion, not just from straight spaces, but from queer spaces too. We're navigating in this weird in-between zone where we're too straight for the queer community, we're too queer for the straight world, it's lonely as heck, and we're filled with imposter syndrome. But this conversation isn't just about the challenges. It's about pushing back against the narratives that keep us boxed in, it's about visibility, validation, and most importantly, joy. It's about celebrating relationships that thrive on open communication and authenticity, no matter what gender your partner is. It has nothing to do with it. And it's about making room in queer spaces for everyone who falls under the bi plus umbrella. No gatekeeping allowed. So we're talking about this because it's important, because it matters, because bisexuality is not defined by the gender of your partner. It's defined by you. And if my relationship with my incredible partner can be a living example of that truth, then I think it's worth sharing. But first, let's talk Bylights. Steve, hello.
No, first I'm going to say, hell yeah!
I love a little rant. I get to do them every 10 episodes.
Legendary. Honestly, Chad, you're not part of this conversation. I'm talking to the listeners. How fucking delicious is it hearing a bi man speak like this? Everything we all know. We don't know what you've been through, Chad, necessarily. We can't feel what you've felt, but we've all felt a similar way, or we know what this feels like. And my God, just to hear you say this and speak like that is a revolution in itself. These are words that are just like teeming with possibility and hope for the future. It's beautiful. You're beautiful.
Thank you. I love talking about hope and possibility. there is so much doom and gloom when we talk about bisexuality and how other people interface and intersect with bisexuality.
Mm-hmm.
We have got some fantastic chats happening in our Facebook group. So quick shout out to our Facebook group, and in particular, a few members who have contributed to this episode. So a big thanks to Kim, Caleb, Michael, John, Anthony, Rhiannon, Heather, Angelo, Andy, Doogie, Jamie, Ashley, and Marshall.
Icons! Woo!
Total bicons. Oh my gosh. But there's some fantastic chats happening in the group about this topic at the moment. We've kind of opened the floor for everyone to share their experiences. Mm-hmm. And something that pops up again and again is not, it's not the idea of bisexuality being the problem, but how other people view bisexuality in terms of other people's relationships. And one person in particular, and it's been echoed by a few people, talking about the idea of other people saying, you should be scared about your partner being bisexual. Like it's someone else's opinion on your relationship. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you should maybe get a good divorce lawyer ready. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about here, guys? Like, I see it all the time. You go over to Reddit and you see partners of bi men, the subreddit, and it's people looking for honest, genuine support.
Yeah.
But every single thread and comment section is dump him, get rid of them.
Yeah,
she's a cheater. It's horrible. And so I'm done with the doom and gloom. We're not here for it anymore. We are putting a line in the sand, and we can turn this identity, this community, and the experiences with our partners into absolute joy and possibility.
Yeah. Can I riff off something you said there?
Please.
If you're a partner of a bi person and one of your friends said, "Oh, aren't you worried?" Don't be worried about your partner. Be worried about that friend, because that your friend's biphobia is starting to show, and I would be worried about them. I wouldn't be worried in the slightest about your partner.
I remember when I was getting a little bit more comfortable with my sexuality in my relationship, posting online about queer media or queer things that I supported, and my partner had a good friend of ours who was a friend of both of us, not my partner's friend, reach out to my partner and saying, "Hey, is everything okay? Are you I just want to check that you're okay right now," which I actually see now in hindsight, there's a part of that I love. It's like, hey, check in on your friends, right? But didn't reach out to me. Like we are also really good friends at that time. It's like, oh, this feels like a really pointed comment that I was left out of. Like, you could open up a group chat. Hey guys, I didn't know this was a reality for you.
Yeah,
I'd love to discuss it with you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe don't do that. Is that weird?
Well, it's like with the whole doom and gloom, and we're going down that trail, so we're going to lift it up. But like the whole doom and gloom thing, we just need to completely reframe bisexuality as nothing but a positive. It's like, if the reaction is a negative, are you okay? You know, aren't you worried? No. It's oh my God, that's awesome, and I'm so excited for you.
Totally.
That's the only reaction that we should be receiving.
I think before we get into doom and gloom or joy, why don't we talk about this week's Bylight? Steve, do you have any Bylights to share this week?
Oh, my current Bylight is that I am not wearing pants. So this is a pantsless episode, because
my Bylight.
And no, I'm not standing up to our lovely YouTube viewers. We are currently in the middle of a week-long heat wave in Sydney. So there's 38 degrees Celsius. For our American friends, that's around 100 Fahrenheit. And it's stinking hot. It's just hot.
Yeah, it's rough. It is rough. As a never nude and someone that loves layers, also someone who suffers from hyperhidrosis, I sweat with nothing on.
So do I. I didn't know you had hyperhidrosis.
Yeah, babe. Yeah, I've been through the works. Yeah, we should talk about this on another episode one time. But yeah, I've gone through the whole Botox injections in my underarms, everything. It's a fucking rough go.
Yeah. Well, you saw my back. Am I meant to get like 100 cc's of Botox on my back? Like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. I remember, this is definitely a tangent. I went in to get Botox injections in my underarms for the first time. I haven't done 2 or 3 times now. And the lady drew a grid on my underarm in marker. And I was like, oh, what's the grid for? Because I thought I was just like going to get one injection and you're done.
No.
She was like, oh, I have to inject you in every single grid. And this is like a 5mm by 5mm grid. And so I got like 50 injections per underarm. Oh, fuck off. This is insane. And then
tell us you haven't had Botox without telling us you haven't had Botox before.
Oh, yeah. Well, there we go. I was like, I've seen the videos of Botox online, but I didn't realize, I've never seen underarms. I didn't realize you had to cover a whole football field worth of skin.
Yeah. I've always said you've had very youthful underarms, so
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm going for a
not
young
to make
Barbra
light. I know how debilitating hyperhidrosis is, but
yeah, I'm slowly getting over it. It still sucks, but I'm slowly starting to not care. I've got other things to worry about.
Can you? Yeah. You just would have to go, this is it.
Also, because I work from home now, that like no one sees me. I like the amount of workplaces, there are people walking on me in the bathroom, standing under the dryer.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this is me drying my shirt under the hand dryer before I go serve some customers. It sucked. Yeah.
The worst thing for me when I'm public speaking, whatever color I'm in, I will leave the stage with a far darker shade on.
Yeah, you can only wear black or white, nothing in between.
And that's also why I only wear black.
Yeah, well, the book launch I had the other day, I got there and it was so hot. I was like, guys, we need to sort something out in this room right now. I cannot go on if it's this hot.
Hyperhidrosis diva. Love a diva. We love a diva here. But anyone with hyperhidrosis has an automatic free card to be an absolute diva. Walk into any room and demand that AC.
I feel like
we're going to have to drop that 5. I'm sorry, everyone.
There's definitely like a drag name in there, hyperhidrosis or something like that. Like there's something in there maybe. So your highlight is that you have no pants on. Is that your bylight for the week?
Apparently it is. Brief 10-second update. The Bi+ Sexual Health and HIV Needs survey here in Australia. Go to bishstudy.com. We are absolutely still recruiting for it, but we just hit a really exciting milestone. We have many respondents, enough of a data set to do a full analysis on Bi+ sexual health in Australia. So we have hit a milestone that we have something that will change the world a bit. So it's exciting.
That's great. I love hearing you try to decide in your head, am I allowed to say the number or not? And you go, no, I won't say the number. But it's super exciting. We've never had this before in Australia. Like every data point about bisexuality in Australia specifically is very carved off the side of something else. Yeah, so very exciting to see our community represented.
So take part. It's definitely not too late. We're open until February, so you've still got a couple of months. And also, Chad, like the really cute thing, just to go on this for a moment longer, it takes 40 minutes to finish the survey. It is not long. And when I eventually tell you the number that we have, to think that many people sat down, that many Bi+ people sat down for 40 minutes at least to finish this, it means that people are really motivated. And you've done it. You've seen how accepting and broad and like it just every identity, every experience is covered in it. We really people are just like, oh yeah, I am going to give what feels like half a day to finish it.
The only thing I regret about it is that I wasn't in the room when it was made. Like I would have loved to have watched those discussions because it just feels like it was done with so much care and love that like, oh, I want to be around people who care and love that hard.
Yeah, it wasn't a room. There were several rooms over 12 months.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I imagine.
What's your bylight, Chad?
Okay, so my bylight. So I'm getting pretty fired up about getting like active in community at the moment. I after the election and seeing that we've got an election coming up in the future, I'm trying to kind of put my fingers in a few pies. And so
Excuse you.
So I have nominated myself to be a part of, so I live in the inner west in Sydney, to be a part of their kind of advisory panel for LGBTQ, like the cohort of LGBTQ people in the inner west. And I just really wanting to be more intentional about being counted, or I have a platform, so let's fucking go and use it. What else? I had a really wonderful conversation with my partner this week. Surprise. It happens every day. But about the podcast. So
I had one lovely conversation with my partner. Just the one.
So we've kind of related to this episode. We've had a few people say, I just want to start seeing some success stories or some fucking positive depictions of bi relationships that are kind of doing the damn thing. And frankly, Heidi and I are doing the damn thing. And I would say we have a pretty fucking great relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. I am obsessed with her, and I would hope she's obsessed with me. Please, babe, comment on the episode. And so I asked Heidi if she would like to come onto the podcast at some point in the future to discuss what it's like being the partner of a bi person who had to navigate that with a bi person in the middle of a monogamous long-term relationship, and what that journey was like for both of us, and get really, I guess, personal, and how we navigated that and how we came out the other side. And she was interested in doing that, which is really exciting. I think it takes a lot for somebody to put the hand up to do that. Heidi never signed up for me to be on a podcast talking about our relationship, and for her to be willing to do so because she sees that it could make an impact for partners of bisexual people is just really, really exciting. And I'm so appreciative of her. So
that's what we call allyship. That's what we call above and beyond allyship. It's not passive. Heidi's going to come right in here and show what an ally is, which is just awesome.
Yeah, really exciting. I think it's been a journey. We've had to navigate a few things, and some things really actively, some things passively, which is kind of a surprising part of that conversation. And then there's parts that I kind of needed to turn up better for, which is something we probably will touch on a little bit today. Yeah, I think it would be of value to people here. It's very, very, very related to this topic we're talking about today.
Well, let's get into that topic, shall we?
Let's get into that topic, shall we?
We are talking about different gender relationships, or as other people we can call them straight passing relationships. Other people call them straight relationships, which they're not. When a person is bi in a relationship, it's not a straight or a gay relationship. Why is this an important topic, and also why is it important to you?
Yeah, I like that distinction of it's not a straight relationship, because also two gay people aren't in a gay relationship either. They're a relationship doesn't have a sexuality. There's same sex or same gender, different sex or different gender. That's how we classify relationships. I think there's a few things to kind of discuss because there's lots of layers here. There is different sex relationships or different gender relationships. We'll probably use those interchangeably. There's also, under that as a subtopic, is different orientation relationships. And so the distinction is, I think the first one's kind of obvious. It's I'm in a relationship with, I'm a cis man, relationship with a cis woman, or you would be a cis woman in a relationship with, well, actually, it doesn't need to be cis, but that's just our example for my relationship. Different orientation is my sexuality is bisexual, and my partner's sexuality is other than that. So it could be straight or gay or whatever that might be. It is less often that someone would be gay and in a relationship with someone with the opposite gender or different gender, not opposite gender. That would be less likely. I know that exists because some people like to fuck with labels, and that's great. Live your life. But yeah, just for clarification, why is it important, and why is it important to me? Look, this topic for me is quite personal, because as we've discussed on previous episodes, the way that we navigate the world and our identity is kind of made up by other people and their experience or their preconceived ideas of what bisexuality is. I have considered myself to always be bisexual, and in different times in my life, I've been more or less kind of forthcoming with that or prioritizing the conversation around that. In my current and long-term relationship with my partner, it, as a priority topic, didn't come up until, say, about 6 years ago or so. And we experienced a tricky 18 to 24 months after that, not because my partner hates bisexual people. She loves and is a great ally of the queer community. But the idea of what that meant for our relationship started to be framed by what other people had decided that might look like, whether through media, through online discourse, resources. I imagine after that first conversation with my partner, she jumps online and says, my partner just came out as bi, or woman in relationship with bi man. And I have also looked up those things. And let me tell you, it fucking sucks.
Don't do it, people. Please don't do it.
There is, unfortunately, a lot of people out there who, the way I think about it is like, every time you go to the grocery store and you have a good or fine experience, do you ever leave a review? Nah, absolutely not. You're not leaving a review for anything good most of the time. If you have a bad experience, are you leaving a review? Absolutely, my voice has got to be heard. I got to take a stand. Mm-hmm. The same can kind of be said about bad relationships or relationships that go sour, is that you're going to scream about it and you want to be heard, or you want to vent and get it out of your body.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, that is what has happened in a lot of these support network groups. So like we were saying before, the partners of bi men groups or different local factions that pop up, that kind of thing. Unfortunately, it becomes a bit of a, oh, he's actually gay, he's going to leave you, or I hope you've got a good divorce lawyer, or, oh, I wonder if that naive little wife knows, that kind of thing. And it's really quite unfortunate. And it's because, people don't have great relationships and go, hey, I got to tell the fucking internet about my great relationship. Let me go on Reddit and tell everyone about how normal my life is and how just easy things are going right now.
And that's what you're here to do, right? You're here to leave a good review.
I'm leaving a good review. Heidi, 5 stars. 5 stars, babe.
We love you, Heidi.
Yeah, look, and so what happens is some things that are personal, individual, colloquial become mixed in with ubiquitous and all-encompassing, or the definition of, which sucks. You're not getting anyone saying, oh, I would never date a gay guy. No one's saying, I would not date a lesbian, because that's cooked, right? It's a silly thing to think. But there are plenty of people out there, one Google search, one Reddit subscription, one Facebook group to join, or just posting any content online, for someone to say, I would never date a bisexual person. They're a bunch of cheats. Are you just waiting for that penny to drop for them to realize they're actually gay, or whatever it might be, right? Lots of things. And it's just time. It is time to say no more. It's time to say we are done with this. And we can reclaim that narrative. And it's unfortunate because we had this wonderful fucking Facebook group. It's growing every day. It's really quite wonderful to see. And a lot of people coming into this group have this experience of being a bi person in a straight passing. Every time I say straight passing, by the way, I'm doing bunny ears. Like, you can't hear bunny ears, people. But I don't like to use the word straight passing. I use it because that is the most commonly used phrasing and naming of that dynamic.
I might also add there, when we say different gender relationship, I prefer to say different gender. Some people say opposite gender, but we know that there's no such thing as an opposite gender because there's more than two genders. So different gender relationship is a really is a good go-to.
Yeah, and so we see lots of people who are in different parts of their journey of their bisexuality, their identity, their relationship, their acceptance or non-acceptance of their partner in that relationship, and beyond. Because also goes into your friendship groups and your families and all that kind of stuff as well. And
It does.
I am obsessed with everyone in this Facebook group. The lived experiences that they're sharing, the vulnerability that we're seeing is wonderful, but also the connections that people are making to with each other and support they're offering each other is wonderful.
So beautiful.
And I just know that this kind of conversation happening early enough for each person could flick a switch, could be the on-off of like, I'm good. I've got this, and my partner understands because they listened to that episode or they read that resource, or which is why recently you would have seen a few months ago, we developed a resource called How to Support Someone That's Just Come Out as Bisexual. And it's actually not for the bisexual. It's for everyone that they come into contact with to get up to speed, to go, here's all the shitty things I've read online, and here's all the counterpoints to those things that are actual truth and very factual, just straight down the line kind of information. It's very also non-political, which was very intentional. It's not trying to bring someone into like some left wing anything. Like this is just what bisexuality is, just straight facts. So it makes it very digestible for people who may not be queer adjacent or queer forward, if that makes sense. But there just aren't that many resources, so we're keen to kind of, this episode will add to that list of resources. But I just see it as an opportunity to go, okay, for that person, if only this episode existed 20 years ago, and for that person, if only that existed 5 years ago, that they could have like gone, hey partner, let's listen to this together. I think it brings up some really good points. I'd love to discuss it afterwards for you. Or I've come out, you've got some feelings, and that's understandable. Let's navigate those feelings together. Maybe we can listen to this episode separately and then come back together.
How long have you two been together for?
Hardy and I have been together for 12 years, 2 months, and 26 days.
No, shut up. You are not. Do you have an artisanal counter on your wall with that? Like,
no, it's a very easy date to remember.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's the 1st of September, first day of spring.
Oh,
spring has sprung.
So you would have, like, obviously having so much lived experience, like you mentioned, at being out openly as bi to yourself and to the world for so long, and being in a different gender relationship for so long. That's a long relationship. And you've done
it's long
well
for someone of our age. Yes, absolutely. It's over a third of my life.
You would have encountered every bi person, we have to combat different myths, misconceptions, and stereotypes, but there are some really specific ones for people in different gender relationships. I could ramble off a dozen, and all of them sort of every single myth and stereotype we have interlaces. But could you go into some of the ones that are really specific to your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of my relationship with my partner, the ones that would cause any kind of harm or questioning, definitely around the ones of they're secretly gay, right?
Yeah.
I've had this wonderful, trusting, open relationship for so long. What is this? Is this just someone trying to temper the next conversation of, well, actually, I've got something bigger to kind of tell you?
Yeah.
Which is tough, and obviously we know that bisexuality isn't halfway to anything. I think the one that is probably the most active, as in the one that would probably play on somebody's mind the most, is we have a good relationship. We've never had an issue before. You coming out as bisexual, to me, sounds like you want something else, or you're looking to explore, expand, or something. It doesn't feel like, oh, you're just looking to express yourself and be open and honest and stuff. It sounds like, to a lot of people, because fear is the first thing we go to, is, wait, you're telling me you're bisexual? Do you want to sleep with men, or do you want to sleep with women, or whoever, based on your sexuality? Yeah. I can't give you that. So are you looking to leave or open this relationship? That's not something I'm comfortable with. Now I'm questioning like everything that we're doing. And once you have kind of one question mark all of the other areas in your life start to get question marks next to them, no matter how solid they are. And that can be really quite upsetting. That for me was probably the most upsetting part about navigating that, is look at all these areas in our life and our relationship together that have pristine track records. Not that it's about track records, but like we've never had any kind of conflict over, that are now open to questioning because of this one thing over here. Yeah, I think one of the tough things is that, like, sometimes it looks like a secret rather than a fear. You know what I mean? That, like, somebody can go, you've been keeping this from me, not you weren't comfortable to be open, or you didn't feel safe or valued enough or whatever to feel that you could come out and it not be an issue, which I think that disconnect is often the case for a lot of people, that the secret becomes the poison. There's actually someone in the Facebook group who made this really wonderful distinction about this. They've come out to their partner in recent years. I won't identify this person. And things are going well. They're navigating it. It's obviously a journey for them, and there's some things they've got to figure out. But what they've discovered is that the bisexuality wasn't the poison. It was the holding it tight and clenching their fist around the idea of coming out was the poison, right? And so they had unfortunately married the two in their mind, that, this secret is the thing that is like, or the topic of the secret is what's poisoning our relationship, not the fact that there is a secret at all. And so when you confuse those things, you might think, I don't want to drop this poison bomb of bisexuality, which is not the case. But really, like, at the end of the day, I think it always comes down to communication. It comes down to being vulnerable. It comes down to holding space for each other. I'm now... If you're on Wicked TikTok or Wicked Instagram or anything, the phrase "holding space" will never be the same again.
Okay, I have seen that because it's made its way into mainstream media, so I have been exposed to it. And the finger grab, but what does it even mean?
I think what happened was the interviewer asked a question and didn't nail the question, and then they've been on such a long campaign trail that there was almost a too presumptive answering of an incomplete question. And there was this kind of like awkward moment. And then Ariana Grande is like, "Oh, sweetie." And they're just like, the finger.
I know, the little...
Oh, it's great. So we're really holding space for each other.
And so more on myths and stereotypes. I know that like one really pervasive one, and it's something that we see like in my work in research, in my work in community, it's something that is really, really just damaging and so harmful across the community. Something that holds back funding for bi+ people, something that holds back exposure and visibility of bi+ people, is like, I've seen it as the myth of either bi+ privilege or straight passing privilege, right? So can you give me, if you're okay with talking about it, go through some of your experiences and maybe briefly explain what straight passing privilege as a bi+ person looks like, and your experiences with it, because it's so fucked. It's just fucked.
So fundamentally, what straight passing privilege is an idea from monosexual queer communities, so gay and lesbian communities, where there's this assumption that bisexual people can check out of their queerness and choose to live a straight life, or choose to appear straight, to kind of skirt homophobia, skirt the inconveniences of being queer. Well, there's many things I'd like to say about this. One, it's just not true, right?
No. What, you want us to all stay in the closet? Like, honestly, you think that's a healthy place to be?
Yeah. First of all, the idea that only bisexual people could ever code switch is a crock of shit. I know plenty of effeminate gay guys that butch it up or whatever to not be clockable to people. It's like, that's people can do that, right?
Gay guys invented the term straight acting. Like, come on.
there's also the idea that like, oh, being perceived as something other than who I am is a privilege in any way, right?
Okay.
There are plenty of lesbians who have been assumed to be straight that assumption was damaging for that person. And the idea that if you flip it, it is somehow not damaging. It's like, yeah, it's bizarre to me.
We're just held to a different standard, aren't we?
Yeah. And really, fundamentally, it is untrue. What we see in studies across the board is that when bisexual people have relationships with different gender partners, they experience higher levels of exclusion, bi-negativity, and erasure.
Yeah, and depression, suicidal thoughts, suicidal attempts.
Yeah. Specifically from queer community.
Yeah.
So it is the dislike from gay and lesbian and other communities of bisexual people with straight partners that makes that just entirely untrue. So it's this self-canceling prophecy, right?
Uh-huh.
You saying that it exists makes it not exist. You know what I mean? Like, kind of what I'm getting that is like, you are proving yourself wrong by saying it.
Yeah, it's like when a queer person says to me, "Oh, biphobia doesn't exist," I'm like, "But you just did it then in that moment."
Yeah, I've also come across this idea that there's no such thing as biphobia. It is somehow like some kind of stolen valor of homophobia. Like you aren't experiencing biphobia, you're experiencing an extension of homophobia, which I understand where this comes from. I don't think somebody on the street yelling out, "Hey, faggot," is going, "Oh, wait. Is that a bi faggot or a gay faggot?" Like but I'm getting called that as well. But I'm also getting other things. So I experience both homophobia and biphobia, where often gay men won't experience the biphobia. They'll experience homophobia.
Of course they don't.
That doesn't mean that I'm trying to win the fucking Olympics of people disliking me. Fuck no, I'm not playing that game. But the reality is I'm experiencing both of those things with my partner, without my partner. So straight passing privilege is not a fucking thing. It just straight up isn't.
Yeah, like I've been called the F word from a moving car, but then I've also been kicked out of a venue basically for having a female partner. It's crazy, and I think now this is going to be this is a touchy topic, but there's also space here because a lot of people will equate biphobia with heterophobia, and they are not the same thing. But also, why can't we talk about heterophobia as well as a separate issue? Because as someone like yourself who has been in relationships with heterosexual people, so I've been in relationships with heterosexual women before, the way that they are treated in the queer community can, quite frankly, because of their sexuality and also their gender, can be quite abhorrent. And the way, I just really wish that we really practice what we preached in terms of acceptance instead of, and broadly our community is extraordinarily accepting, extraordinarily diverse, and is welcoming of everyone. But then there are just like sort of threads within the community, as in any community. Absolutely no community is perfect, and we shouldn't hold ours to a different standard. But you know, if I think heterophobia affects bi people as well, so we're affected by biphobia, heterophobia, and homophobia.
It's tricky because I have had these thoughts myself. We talked about it previously on the bi men episode on the misandry kind of topic of it feels very appropriate to just immediately blanket say fuck all men, right? Kind of saying fuck all straights or fuck like the second that you say fuck all, insert something here, you've lost me. Like
you're
you
going
can't
down a bad path.
Yeah, but I get it because I've done it, right? I've absolutely done it. But it takes a little bit of that maturity to say that is not a way forward that makes sense for anybody. If I want to break down power structures, I need to get involved with people who hold power. If I want to solve male violence against women, against queers, whatever, I need to actively work with men. I need to actively love men to know that there's a future where that is possible. There's a wonderful author, and she's a podcast host called Liz Plank. The book is called For the Love of Men. Oh, the podcast is called something else. I'll put it in the show notes. It's fucking fantastic. Bell Hooks. I'm reading Bell Hooks. The idea that like we hate these people, it feels just like the first step. Maybe you need to go through that hate to get to the next stage of let's fix this fucking thing. And so the same thing is it can be said about this kind of heterophobia. I understand being on the receiving end of prejudice from straight people as a queer community. We all receive it every day. I get it. Like, I'm not loving the prejudice that we're copying, but it takes working with these people. And also, we are in relationships with these people every day. So, like, that makes it even murkier waters. Let's not go there. I think something to talk about with these things, right? Because we're talking about relationships, is not just like the idea of straight passing privilege at its like broad level, but like how does that play a part in a relationship? So I guess when you think about, say, queer spaces, people say, get out of our queer space, you can go anywhere, right? That's an example of this straight passing thing. Oh, you can just turn up to the straight pubs, right? Well, I feel deeply uncomfortable in certain, again, bunny ears, straight venues and events. I'd feel deeply uncomfortable and unsafe in some spaces. So that is not a privilege that I hold. Whether you perceive it to be a privilege I have or not is different. Like, you perceiving me to have straight privilege doesn't absolve me of fear or the lack of safety or the real mental health and other things that I might go through. Like, just because you perceive that I have privilege doesn't mean I have that privilege.
It's the whole thing about structural discrimination. It's that, yes, there are structural forces at play, but you have to look at individual circumstances. Yes, there are privileges, and we both have privileges. But down at the individual level, we are individuals with individual experiences. And so it's just completely inappropriate. And you sort of see this with, oh God, this is going to sound condescending, but like people who have just sort of learned these terminologies or, learned about structural discrimination and prejudices and sort of applying those blanket rules to individuals. And it's actually, it's such a nuanced approach you have to take. And that, just because you see, it's like you and I, we're looking at, here's an inside look at how the sausage is made, people. Here, give it to me by. We're looking at, getting some advertisers on board. And basically what we've been told by people is we're two white dudes walking up to people with a podcast. How on
Why
earth
do I care?
Yeah, how on earth do we make the argument that we are discriminated against? And you actually have to convince people that bi men are the minority within the minority, and we have extraordinary needs that need to be addressed. And that's a more nuanced conversation than just two white dudes. And so, it just requires a lot more nuance. And just, I think, Chad, here is, a little bit of empathy goes a long way. A little bit of listening to people goes a long way. Instead of assuming that you have this mythical straight privilege, how about asking you what your experiences are? How comfortable do you feel, Chad, in bunny ears straight spaces? How comfortable do you feel bunny ears in queer spaces? These are nuanced things. And it's actually quite funny because there are those broad stereotypes around privileges, but then there are also broad experiences. And I think you'll probably find if you ask most bi+ people, we actually share many of these experiences, but it's the complete opposite of the perception that people have of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I'd like to get into a topic that might cause a bit of a stir with some people.
Oh, we've stirred the pot, babe. Let's keep going.
I think this one might actually stir our community, not outside our community. And because we love our community.
I'm protecting the bisexuals at all costs. What are you going to do to us?
So we talk all the time about this idea of, do you want to be right or do you want to be pragmatic? Do you want to be effective? One of the things that I recognized in my relationship that really helped us out is me taking responsibility for how I communicate my sexuality and my identity and my experiences, but also that I can't expect somebody else to hear that information and day one just get it, right? Sure, someone can say, oh, I love you regardless, that doesn't mean they're up to speed, because I see this a lot and I've experienced it myself, of someone saying, I came out and they didn't accept me, or they questioned me and they questioned my motives. And it's like, I understand that is hard to receive.
Yeah,
however, you've been dealing with your sexuality for 1, 5, potentially 50 years.
Yeah.
Your partner in that moment has had it for 30 seconds. But what they've been dealing with for 1, 5, 10, 50 years is all the fucking negative shit that we've consumed as well in the world. Because it's not just us that receive all these messages from media saying that bisexuals are the worst. So is our partners, right? We're consuming the same shit. So in that moment, your partner gets 30 seconds, an hour, a week to have to wrap their entire mind around this, while also going to work, raising kids, cooking dinner, like getting the car fixed, whatever it might be. Like, they've got life to go on, and then in their spare moments they have to go, oh, and this fucking thing, okay, like, and can I talk to my friends about it? I'm not sure if that means I'm outing you. Like, I want to be supportive, but I don't know how to be supportive appropriately. I think we, as bisexual people coming out to people who aren't bisexual people, here we go, need to hold space for our partners to get it wrong a little bit, right? I think it is unfair for us to expect people to be perfect receptacles to our queer experience.
I don't think receptacle's the right word, babe, but I love it. I love the word receptacle. I'm so sorry to take it there.
I almost landed that plane, Steve.
You did. No. You make it just such a bloody excellent point, because we rightfully expect grace, and in return, we have to give grace.
Absolutely. My partner and I have been saying this almost like quiet mantra to ourselves, because we are parents and we've done a few trips, like traveling overseas with a toddler recently, is low expectation, high manifestation, right? Like, I don't expect you, when I come out to you, let's go buy some flags and march the street. But I can manifest
do that as well.
But like, so I'm not expecting you to turn up and just be perfect ally day one. Most people aren't. If you think that they would be, you probably already be out to them. Like, there probably wouldn't be that kind of friction point. But I can manifest that, hey, you're going to turn up and now this, and in that I'm going to now how I communicate it to you, and we're going to give each other space and time and recognize each other's fears and concerns, because we have a fear of not being accepted. They have a fear of getting it wrong. They have a fear of, am I losing this thing I really care about? This thing being you and this relationship. Those fears are equal. Like, I don't think our coming out fears trump somebody's losing a relationship fear. And nor should it, like, and maybe that might upset people because, like, they're coming out and going, this is who I am. But like, someone's relationship with you is who they are as well. Like, so it took me to realize that, of giving my partner space and going, okay, that thing hurt, that thing hurt, that thing hurt. But why would I expect her to fucking get this right? Like, just because she's watched Queer Eye and this and that and whatever else. Like, you mean, like,
and manifesting isn't just hoping for the best. It's something.
No, it's not woo-woo. Yeah,
it's something you and I have talked a lot about on this podcast. I think a really powerful way in those contexts to manifest good outcomes is to go into this with the positive bi mindset, right? It's something. It's in your mind. This is something to celebrate. So you don't ask, are you afraid? You say, how exciting is this? You don't feel embarrassed to talk about your sexuality. You feel proud to talk about your sexuality. You're inviting them in. You're not admitting to something. You're not revealing a secret. You're bringing someone into your experience.
Totally. This is almost a companion piece I want to create, the how to support someone who's come out. I almost want to create a resource of how to come out, some suggestions on how to change the narrative from, like, hey, I've got something I need to, like, confess to you, and do you have any fears and concerns, to, like, hey, I've recently kind of been thinking about this thing that I'm really pumped about. I think it's going to be wonderful for us to kind of be our truer selves together, and I'd love to kind of journey this with you, because I've got questions. I know you'll have questions, but I'd love to kind of go into this together instead of me kind of feeling like I've somehow got it all figured out when I don't, and use it almost as an opportunity to dig deeper in your relationship, not this, oh my gosh, someone's got a crowbar and they're hacking at our communication.
Yeah.
Hack with a crowbar? Is that what you do with a crowbar?
I guess. One can hack with a crowbar. All right, I think this leads us into a really great topic around visibility and joy in different gender relationships, because honestly, watching you and Heidi is the apex predator of visibility and joy in a bipolar.
You're going to make me sing another musical, Apex Predator, Mean Girls on Broadway. It's great.
That's on the future Patreon account for...
There we go. The future Patreon is just me getting my sing on. That's it.
It's just the sing along. So in our amazing Facebook group, Anthony has asked the question, how do you navigate and embrace what being bisexual is to you with your partner?
I think it can be so many things. It could be, one, like we were saying, like deep conversation and affirmation, and using it as an opportunity to talk about relationship structures and relationship priorities and what we want for our future, and what does being out look like? Like, do we want to go to some, like, pride events together? Do we want to like what does
honestly more different gender couples at Pride, like visible? Oh, I love it.
Like I think I mentioned in a previous episode, is my partner bought me some bi-colored flowers on Bi Visibility Day, and I was a mess. I was like, oh my gosh, like you, like here's you, like actively celebrating my identity.
Literally, it's as simple as flowers.
It's just a couple of flowers, but like it's pretty wonderful. And so there's other ways to do them.
This is what coming out to your partner is. No, we're not wanting to go off to a big old swingers orgy. I think we just want flowers.
Yeah, look,
literally.
Some people do. Some people do want to start like sleeping around, and we've got people in our community that do that and love that, and fucking get yours, sis. Like, love that.
Yeah,
but a lot of people
don't. Communication. That's communication.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I think the idea of communicating and being really clear that, like, is that actually what you want? Don't tell your partner you don't want that if that is what you want, just because you're trying to like not have a conflict. You could hold space for that and say, look, at the moment, that is not something that I want. However, 5 years ago, I didn't want a kid, and now I do want a kid. So like, life can change, and we will navigate that change together. And so like, I would love that, like, whatever the future looks like, we are navigating that together, not me trying to like be sneaky or anything like that. I think that is, those tricky conversations are the best ones to have, as long as you turn up as honest as possible. Don't be trying to be deep and insincere at the same time. Not a good mix. For my relationship with my partner, that's not something I'm looking for. But like a lot of people that have written in, I absolutely go through different seasons of having a heightened attraction to people of the same gender, or lowered attraction. Sometimes like, ugh, no thanks.
Yeah. But this is across humanity.
Exactly.
Like, just because we experience attraction to people of different genders, people experience attraction to a multitude of things, and they change throughout a lifetime. Yeah. It is about partnership here, right?
Exactly. And it's like, oh, I might be more or less into blondes,
or really hirsute men, or maybe I want an otter in 2 years' time. But
exactly.
Love, in my experience, overcomes everything. Love is such a core thing, and I have seen online and personally, just in other people's experiences, love be cut short because of unnecessary fears and because of jumping the gun when it comes to someone coming out. Yeah. And it's like, love is the most important thing. And love can get you through anything. And communication is the key to good love.
And also, the same way that we said a few episodes back that allyship is active, I really want to challenge people in the idea that love is also active. Like, there is passive love. That's wonderful. I've got passive love for my fucking camera. Like, I love a lot of things. I'm a very passionate person, but I love
the camera loves you, baby.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, that's great. But love is active. And so this is something that I say often, is I choose my partner every day. And so like, I choose my partner today when I woke up, and I choose to love my child today, even though they woke up screaming. I choose to love my dog, even though they kept me up all night. Like, it is a choice to love something or someone.
Yeah,
and
because we have agency. We have agency in everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the day that I choose not to is the day that I'm going to choose to potentially have the conversation to do something about that, right?
Yeah.
And I would expect the same from my partner. The day that they choose to not love me, that they're upfront about it and go, hey, I think I want something else.
Changed. Yeah.
But as long as, if you were honest about the love and then you are honest about the not love, then I can't hold it against you. That's what you turned up with. That's great. I think that's something I'd love to talk about a little bit, because I saw it mentioned a few times in the Facebook group, is this idea of imposter syndrome. And so, again, there's a few overlaps between general bisexuality, myths, concerns, all that kind of stuff, and how they relate to relationships. And so this one's interesting. So this imposter syndrome, a lot of people have it for a few reasons. One is the whole checkbox, what is your sexual history kind of imposter syndrome of, maybe I'm a woman and I've been in a relationship with a man for 30 years and I only discovered I was bisexual inside of that relationship. I've never slept with someone of the same gender as me. I feel like an imposter. I can't call myself bisexual. I'm not looking to go and have that relationship, but like, who am I to really say that? So then the next thing is, who am I to turn up in queer spaces? Who am I to turn up in pride rallies or to talk about it online? And again, like, we're going to sound like a broken record. Your relationship does not define your sexuality and your identity. You do. That is entirely yourself.
Nor does your experience. Your experiences don't define your sexuality.
Exactly. So if you say you're bisexual, you're bisexual. If you say that you're straight and you want to sleep around with multiple different genders, then cool, you're straight. Your like behavior might be bisexual, but you are a straight person because you identify as such. Declarative sexuality and identity is kind of what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it's quite funny. It's really only the bi plus community that has this outlook, in my experience, because we know what it feels like. And, you know, I remember before I came out, it was non-bi people telling me, like, oh, you need to reach this certain level of experience, blah, blah, all that sort of stuff. And then in the bi community, we're like, no, we don't believe in any of that. We believe you. We are giving you, we, the bisexuals, are giving you permission to come to the Pride rally. We are telling you you are enough.
And just as, like, we see in other communities this idea of like a gold star gay or a gold star lesbian, right? And that's problematic in those in those communities. Like, there's a lot of people like, oh, like, babe, don't be saying that. But there are plenty of gay guys who have slept with women. There are plenty of lesbians who have slept with men, and they're not going, I'm not a lesbian because I once slept with a man. Like, babe, I know who I am. I'm a lesbian. That was once upon a time. I know lesbians that occasionally sleep with men. Like, I just need to get my rocks off, babe. Like I'm still a lesbian. That's fine. And like, so like, I would say, because sometimes we can get so insular in our head, and there isn't a big like bi community that's together talking about these things, is that like, we don't get to see those other communities saying, I'm gay. I know that I'm gay because I just am. And that's fine. And let's move on. You can do that too. I'm bi. I just am. And then we move on. You don't need to prove yourself in any capacity. And then that next step forward of turn up to the fucking Pride event. Please. Like, you are
bring your partner.
So fucking queer. Also, what I love is that like queer, and therefore anything that falls under that, however you want to identify, is punk as fuck. Like, I'm a punk kid at heart. I want to fuck the system. I want to like throw it all in the bin and start again. Like, I'm a big punk kid living in a capitalist world. It's hard to reconcile some days. But what I love about it is it's an identity. It's a political ideology. It is like how I want to move through the world. And I see that in this community. And I see a lot of bisexual people identifying with the idea of queer and this kind of fluid sexuality. It's like, throw out the rules, babe. Like, let's, like, whatever you want is how it's going to be. And that's the right thing for you. If your bisexuality is different to mine, because I bet that it is, sick. Like, that's like big 2 thumbs up. I want it to be different to mine. like we have some kind of baseline identification ideas and guidelines just because it's easier to talk about something or just because it's easier to study. You don't have to fit anything, do you? Like I love you however you want to define your bisexuality, and you should love you for that as well. I think one other thing, and like this isn't really like a free-flowing conversation, I'm just kind of throwing out thoughts as they come up, is almost this idea of empowering your partner, right? I know that my partner has the best intentions always. My partner is never meant to do wrong by anyone, which is why they've got 1,000 friends. But like my partner never wants to get it wrong and then hurt someone's feelings, right? And so what I recognized and am continuing to recognize is I kind of need to empower them with the language, the resources, the way to talk about it, because inevitably there are going to be people asking, especially because I've got a fucking podcast that goes live on social media 40 times a day.
Do you have a podcast, Chad?
Is that like people are going to be asking her, hey, what's this whole thing about Chad? And for her to be going, I don't know, it's Chad's thing. Ask them. You know what I mean? Like that's hard. But if my partner can, let's rattle off the top 5 questions. What does that mean for your relationship? Are you open? Are you closed? Is Chad sleeping around? Go through the 5-10 questions that your partner might get asked by somebody, and then help them have the answers to that confidently, so your partner doesn't feel like you've left them adrift to just kind of fucking figure it out.
Face it.
Like you've got a responsibility as the bisexual partner to not leave them stranded. Like you want them to be an ally for you. You've got to be an ally for them, babe. Like you've got to build them up. It sounds
harsh, but it's true. We do have to put in work. If we want the good life that we deserve, it doesn't come from nowhere. We have to put in work for it.
Okay, you've reminded me. So I started a new book this week. Last year, I read a lot of books. I was very proud of myself. And I was like, ooh, I've got the capacity to do more than that. So this year, I set a really ambitious reading goal. And I've read 1 book this year.
Chad.
Honestly,
it's November.
I know. I'm depressed about it, actually. But this week, I started reading a book called No Shortcuts. It's all about deep community organizing. It's based on this idea of unions and how they have utilized community power to get really fantastic results that change the world, right? Really wonderful stuff. And how we as societal movements can utilize some of those tools as well. Anyway, that's a big segue because I had to find my notes. I wrote down this note that is related to what Steve just said of like it takes work. Oh my gosh, this lit me up when I heard it. The author said, there is no salvation beyond your own power. No one's coming to save you. You are going to come save you. You have the power to save you.
Yeah, you do.
You absolutely have the power. And whatever you turn up to do is what you'll receive in return. And then you'll receive something, it'll build your capacity, and then you'll be able to give some more. But I loved that idea. It kind of put, like, it's this almost this dare of turn up for yourself, turn up for your partner, turn up for your community. And like, I got tingles when I read it. I was like, oh, write that down right now. Put your coffee down, Chad.
And that's something you and I have both done, I think. It's something that you and I have both demonstrated. And like something else I reckon you and I have both learned as well in that process is it's definitely okay to have a rest. It's definitely okay to chill and restore, because you don't want to burn out. But you also restore so that you can keep getting to work. Because that you have the power to save yourself. You have the power to get what you want.
I might begin to wrap up this episode by pointing people to some different resources, because there's good shit out there, right? But we need to. There's plenty of bad shit, but we need to, as a community, utilize them, share them, comment on them, and use them so that they can kind of spread. And when people start Googling, partner just came out as bi, they don't get all the shitty stuff. Number 1. is our resource. We created how to support someone who's just come out as bisexual. It's in the show notes. It's fantastic. We created it with community consultation. We got lots of feedback. This is 2.0. Please go and read it. It's good shit. If you have feedback though, send it to me. I'll update it. We love feedback. Number 2 is one of our community members, Jamie. Shout out Jamie, is a fucking legend. Does a lot of good content and good resources. Has created, wrote an article previously on the myth of straight passing privilege. It is in the show notes. It is a good read, and it's very. It's not waffly like I am. We all know that I'm quite waffly. The third thing is we are connected with the Australian-wide bisexual network, and one of our good Judies, Duke Dow,
Love you, shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. It has shared with us. So all the different state level community groups came together during COVID to create Stand By Us, which is a September conference, where we put on all the different bisexual events throughout September. And 2 years ago, they recorded an online event called Passing By plus people in straight-facing relationships. That will also, it's a video. It's about an hour and a half long. It's fantastic. That will also be in the show notes. Go give it a watch and connect and subscribe and follow and like and all that kind of stuff. And then generally speaking, come to our Facebook group. We're having amazing conversations about all this kind of stuff. And then you don't just have to hear from Chad waffling or Steve being very professional in his underwear.
I've been cracking jokes the whole time. The joke is that I'm not professional. Yeah,
thank you.
That checks.
One of the hardest things is when we're navigating this is not knowing where to turn, who to ask for help, or just getting someone, a non-sympathetic ear to this kind of stuff. So if you or your partner wants to join, your partner is a part of the community as well, come and join the Facebook group. Let's have some chats. It's wonderful. We love you. Come and hang out with us. That's kind of where I'd want to point people. I don't want this to be a singular thing. Go and spread your wings a little bit and get out in the world.
Yeah. And speak to bi people. Don't speak to straight people. Don't speak to gay people. Speak to bi people. If you are the partner of a bi person and you're maybe having difficulties with communication because understanding that your partner may be going through a difficult time, it is really difficult, speak to any bi people you have in your life, because we are the ones who know it. We are the experts in our lived experience. There's just also too much misinformation out there from other people.
Yeah. And as we mentioned at the top of the episode, we're going to be doing an episode with my partner in the future. I don't know when it will be. It probably won't be the next episode, but it'll be sometime in the future. But my partner has also said, if you ever have questions for a partner of a bi person, post them in the group and she and I will answer them together as two people that have navigated this. If you're looking for someone to ask this of that isn't bi, that might understand the perspective of the partner, post it in the group and we'll discuss it and give you some thoughts and feedback, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, thanks for sticking around for another episode. This was a fun one.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it's an important one. It's such an important one. It's such a common experience in our community, and one that can be really challenging. But you know what? I'm going to flip the script on that. It's not one that can be challenging. It's one that is full of bloody hope and excitement. Different gender relationships with bi plus people are just fucking amazing. Come to the marches. Come to our events. You're in the community. You're here. Yeah. You're it.
The cool thing about this is that it will be hard depending on your circumstances, but hard doesn't mean absence of hope. Hope and hard can come together. I have such a strong, wonderful relationship because of this challenge that we went through together. We communicate so well with each other, prioritize each other every day because we went through challenges like this. Yeah. So
you have a beautiful relationship because of your bisexuality, not in spite of it.
Yeah, that's it. Well, we love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us on another episode.
Love you, Bicons, and thank you so much to everyone that wrote in. You're amazing.
It was wonderful. Thanks, folks.